All right, y'all, back again. Thank you for tuning in. For those that just watched our LeBron discussion and Laker discussion as of recently, we appreciate all the love. Continue to support the show, like, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff for us. We're back here today to talk about someone who hasn't been a main focus for our show, despite their success for their whole tenure, and that's Nikola Jokic. My apologies. Nikola Jokic has been a two-time MVP now, has had some success during the regular seasons, at least during multiple runs, but even still, he's somewhat slid under the rug media-wise in regards to attention, at least with us. We haven't talked about him a whole lot, but he's now getting a whole lot of love, and there's a whole lot of discussion about him. And I have an interesting take. I'm interested to see what Alec has to say in response to. So good stuff here for you guys. Excited to talk about it all. Have a few other angles to talk about within that as well that we surely want to address. I know Alec wants to get to in that. And yeah, just a fun conversation for you guys to get into.
Real quick, I just saw your caption. John Wick. Come on.
The whole last episode.
Come on, bro. Come on.
You missed that the whole last episode. It was sitting there right in front of you and you didn't say it.
I thought we were just not going to talk about that, man. Of course you put his
I didn't say a word. We were the whole last episode and didn't acknowledge it.
You blasted it on the screen. Oh, okay.
What you mean?
It was the intro.
It was
the intro. Play the intro, man. Play.
Another conversation for another day. We'll get to that later on. We'll get to that later on.
Let's talk about this white man.
Gosh. As for right now, as you say, we want to talk about Nikola Jokic and what he's been doing, going for potentially his third straight MVP. And with that, another person that we've been talking about throughout these last couple of years, a whole lot, has been Luka Doncic. We talked about how Luka has all the talent, has a lot of all the flair and what you want to be. All the pieces essentially that you would want for a guy to be the face of the league and all of that. And while he definitely is having a lot of success of his own, finally getting some more help, Kyrie's there now, and we'll see what comes of that. I'm a guy who's been in comparison to him or been alongside him in their pursuits in a way has been Jokic as he's been going about things in Denver. I look at Jokic and I just wonder, in a way, has Jokic already been what we wanted Luka to be? We talked about how we wanted Luka to be this dominant force, that we wanted to be this MVP type player. We wanted to go and push for titles and wherever the case may be. And while Luka hasn't fully had the playoff success in regards to individual dominance to the grandest scale in regards to being MVP, he's done it twice now. He's achieved that. So has Jokic been who we've wanted Luka to be this whole time?
I think the only difference between what Jokic has been and what Luka has been is the two MVPs. Because I mean, just this past season, Luka got all the way to the Western Conference Finals largely because of his own doing. The team had good role players around him and good shooting around him and played good defense.
Sure.
But Luka did backpack that team to the Western Conference Finals. They just ran into a juggernaut and a three-time champion in the Golden State Warriors. Right. So it just ran into a tougher matchup. But Jokic has had pretty much the same playoff postseason trajectory as Luka. He's dragged teams to the playoffs on his own and gotten bounced early, or made it to the second round and got bounced. Made it to Western Conference Finals and got bounced by the Warriors, I believe, once again. So they've been very similar, I would say. I think we did call on Luka, I guess, to finally get over the hump in terms of getting that MVP. So that's what he's missing in terms of Jokic's resume. But I think they've had very similar careers to this point. Jokic is getting more of the celebration that Luka kind of has had in the past couple years that you were saying Jokic hasn't. I think he's getting more of it now, as he's been a two-time MVP and potentially three-time MVP, which doesn't usually happen.
In regards to the praise, it was more so, it felt like, and if this is revisionist history, let me know. But from my eyes, it felt like they gave Jokic the MVP. Maybe it was just the first time at least, maybe the second time as well. But because they had to, it was like guys were hurt or whatever the case may have been, and guys that may not have played enough games or he had a certain stat that more appeased what you want from MVP, and they were like, well, we want to give it to Embiid, but Jokic has just a little bit better. He's played a few more games. We want to give it to Giannis, but Jokic carried this team without Jamal Murray to the third seed or whatever the case may have been. So it kind of felt like there was some other reasoning as to why. Now this year it's like, okay, Jokic is that guy. We want to give him his praise and all of that. But it just felt like there was a flip from we kind of had to give it to him versus now it's like media kind of instead of the media fatigue, now it's like, okay, we have to actually fully acknowledge what he's been doing, which would be interesting. What do you think about that view of Jokic?
I think he was like slightly underrated, whereas Luka came in and was like already a media darling and sensation, and fan darling and sensation. I think people propped up Luka maybe even higher than the level he was playing from the jump.
Right.
And Jokic kind of had to earn the respect of a lot of, especially casual. I don't think the casual fan maybe finds his game as aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
And he's a big as opposed to Luka being more of a guard. So that I think that plays a factor as well.
He don't jump out the building at all.
Right.
It's all just I don't know if it's fundamental.
It's fundamental. It's high IQ basketball.
High IQ.
It's heliocentric like Luka as well. So he's the focal point of the offense.
But Luka at least has a flair to him. He'll crossovers and step backs and all of that. Jokic has it, but it does not look the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like the Ja Morant, like who's super exciting to watch, jumping over everybody, blowing past people. It's low to the ground, high IQ, making the right play, passing out of the double teams, that kind of thing. And I think he was undervalued and underappreciated, and it's maybe swung slightly too far to where it's like he's getting a little bit too much. But I think it's a good thing that like his game is appreciated as well. And yeah, I think that it's fair to say what you're asserting, that he's kind of been what we wanted Luka to be, but I think they've been pretty similar careers basketball wise. Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, we'll see what's next for them. I will say, wow, he went from underrated to now pretty loved across the board. As we said during our predictions, now that we truly see and appreciate all that he has there, it's time for him to deliver with that as well. To have 2 straight MVPs, potentially a third, and be, I think they said so far he's like in the last 2 years at least, he's like 1-8 in the playoffs. Like he got swept 1 year and won 1 game the year after that. It's time for it to deliver. Yeah. I know there's been other reasons why, because of teammates and whatever the case may be, but to be as talented as we see you to be, as well as what others, how everybody views you, whatever the case may be, and not delivering when it matters most, definitely is a stain there. So yeah, I want to see him deliver.
Yeah, I think what I'll say about both those guys, I think it applies to both those guys, is what will eventually put them over the championship hump is a commitment to the defensive end in some capacity. I think like they don't have to be the best defender on their team. I don't think that's realistic. But any elite player that's been the number one on their team your number one guy has to care about the defensive end of the floor when it matters most, or you're not going to win a championship.
Can be a cone out there.
LeBron sometimes has a tendency in the regular season to take defensive plays off or whatever, but when it comes down to the postseason, like he's bought in 100% on the defensive end.
All right,
and he can turn it up.
This is too much LeBron love. Use somebody else.
No, I'm using LeBron. I'm using LeBron because he has the exact same style as Luka and Jokic as far as the offense revolves around them. They're the ones who are getting the highest usage, making all of the
I'm making jokes.
Plays,
you're good.
That kind of thing.
I know what you're doing.
So with him, like if he was just playing offense, it would not work. He would not have won those championships with Miami or with Cleveland. Like he cared about that end of the floor. And Luka, I think he showed a little bit of effort last year in that Western Conference Finals run, and they benefited from that. But you're going to need a concerted effort from Jokic as well on the defensive end to really get that over the hump, because Jamal Murray is not a defender. Michael Porter Jr. is not a defender. Aaron Gordon is. KCP is. But if just 2 out of your 5 guys are solid defenders, and you're not playing elite team defense, like you're not gonna win a championship. So I think you're gonna need a commitment from those elite offensive stars on the defensive end to get over the hump.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. There was another angle which started to switch so drastically, I guess, but there's another angle you wanted to bring up too in regards to the praise that Jokic has been getting. We just saw recently there was a discussion about him just breaking past, I think it was 100 triple doubles or whatever case it has been.
Right.
Praise he's been getting with that. You had another comparison beyond Luka that you wanted to make in regards to his reception. So I'll let you take the floor.
I saw an article that someone posted today on Twitter. It was talking about like the efficiency of Jokic's triple doubles versus Russ's triple doubles, Russell Westbrook, and I'm like, let's not do some revisionist history on the history that Russ made. Being the first to average a triple double since Oscar Robertson, and then doing it 4 seasons in a row with a very severely undermanned team. Like this was. I believe one of those seasons was Sabonis before he broke out, was his best teammate, and then Oladipo before he broke out as well too. And it was what's his name, the dude on OKC that couldn't shoot but was a really good defender.
Roberson.
Andre Roberson, and Steven Adams. Like it wasn't a whole lot of offensively gifted guys on that team. And Russ was making do with less than what Jokic has to work with as well. So I don't like the revisionist history. It's reminded me a little bit of these memes that are on Twitter now about if the black player was the European player, like Russell Westbrook. Yeah, it's reminded me a little bit of that. Like Jokic, his triple doubles are amazing, but when Russ does it. It's detrimental to the team. He's stat padding.
Right.
In reality, they won 80% of the games that he got a triple double in. So
I guess even to that point as well, it's interesting that like if Russ even alluded to stat padding in any way, like he couldn't even joke about it, it would have immediately been, oh, see, he's talking about it. That's what he's doing. Jokic just yesterday was like when they told him about him going past 100. He's like, yeah, that's what you do when you stat pad. So hey, and he talked about it and laughed and all of that. So he's allowed to even joke about it and make light of those comments. While Russ, it seemed like that was considered a major detriment to his what he was doing. So yeah, I typically hear you, and that there's a different type of reception to those players.
I'll say absolutely. I'll say it was celebrated when he did it the first season, but after the first season, it was like, actually, the triple doubles are bad, kind of thing. He's stat padding now. It's like, what are you talking about? So yeah, I just don't want there to be revisionist history on the historical landmark achievements that Russ had at that point. I mean, he's still I think he has like 198 triple doubles or something like that, where Jokic just broke 100. So Jokic could eventually pass him, and that's fine. I just don't want there to be revisionist history on what Russell did.
Oscar Robinson's record, we thought it was never going to get broken, and then Russ broke it, and we're like, okay, it's not going to be broken for a while again. And no, like years later, here we are, and there's guys that are surely on track to do so. So, it's just crazy how the game has changed. With something else we're going to talk about in regards to rule changes and all that stuff later on. But yeah, definitely an interesting thing in regards to his reception. So yeah, we'll see what's next with Jokic and Luka and all those type guys. And yeah, very interesting to see how these playoffs go. Anything else with those guys you wanted to discuss?
No, just we don't have to denigrate guys to prop the guy up that we like is what I'll say. And that's a lot of NBA Twitter culture is shitting on the guy that you don't like or shitting on the guy that is on par with the guy you like to make your guys seem better. So yeah.
I was gonna maybe say this for a whole nother episode, but I'll go ahead and say it now because I like what you said. And here's the question. Do NBA fans even like basketball?
That's been a question that people have talked about in recent years for sure.
You're not like
does NBA media like basketball?
All around.
I do not. Yeah.
And I'll use us like we joke about it, but like you joke with me about liking various teams and bouncing around and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And I'll joke on you about even when you like Russ and he goes to the wrong team, you can't like the Clippers because of whatever. And it's still the Clippers. So I'm not even saying that they're allowed now. We're just saying that there are times that we look at people who really like all that goes on with basketball and get annoyed by it. And we watch guys and we see all these guys that are putting up big numbers and whatever the case. And instead of celebrating it, people always try to find the flaws in it all. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. And what do you think about how media, fans and actual media alike, react to basketball these days?
I don't know where it started, but I think like the ring discussion really destroyed NBA media and dialogue. I think just
The
like
GOAT debate was the real first one. That was the real thing that was big.
yeah.
Then,
But I feel like
the
that's from the dawn of time. People always argue who's the best at the sport, that kind of thing.
it didn't seem as debated though during once Jordan was snipped as the GOAT, and during around that time there wasn't a whole lot of debate to that. Like it was him.
Well, it was clearly him though. That's why.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it wasn't like a debate forever. There were moments when it was clearly like a guy, and we just let it be. Even when Kobe and guys follow, we said Kobe was the next. He might have been our favorite above Jordan or whatever, but we always said the GOAT was MJ. So the GOAT debate, once LeBron came around, definitely restarted as folks. He crowned to the chosen one, and all that came with that. So that was the case. And then went into the whole rings, and then rings evolved into everything else.
I think it's largely the rings debate, to be honest, because I feel like it's destroyed discourse. It's shaped how guys like want to move in free agency too. Like I think that was a large reason why KD joined the Warriors too, for his legacy's sake, because we already knew like he's a super talented top 20 player ever potentially. But he knew that he was going to get discredited without the rings. He still might get those rings discredited, but I think part of the reason why he went is to add that to his resume and get a championship. Sure. And so I think the rings discussion has shaped a lot of how NBA media talks about players, views players, like use it to discredit the accomplishments that guys have made because you haven't accomplished the ultimate goal, which most guys don't win a championship like in their career. It's not everybody doesn't get a chance to win it. Only one team wins every year. The most winningest team has only won it 17 times out of how many years the NBA has been around. So, I think that discourse has kind of destroyed how fans, how media like views players, and how we discuss players.
I guess trying to combat that, or actually this might add into it now that I think about it. Just seeing all these great players that have been in the league for a long time and haven't won one. My favorite players, talking about PG and guys like that. PG just had a quote talking about how he had to accept that he couldn't be the number one guy on a championship team.
And major respect to him on that interview with JJ for sure. Yeah.
Definitely, and guys like that, and seeing how Jokic has been a two-time, might be three-time MVP, and barely gotten out the first round at times, in all the case. Maybe it definitely has made me appreciate playoff runs and championships more. But I also don't want to make that discredit regular season success too. Like I still get impressed whenever I see 70 points from a guy in the regular season. When I see like 50-point games, I know the game, and we'll get more into that in another conversation. But I still wanting to appreciate all that comes with the game while acknowledging how valuable that ring is that everybody is chasing. So it's okay to like it all. We don't have to discredit one part of the game to prove our point about something else. And I hope we get better at finding that middle ground as fans and media and whoever going forward.
Yeah, I think that's the key, like you said, the middle ground, because I do believe that being a top 2-3 guy on your team that led a team to a championship does hold the most weight probably, but I think it's all a balance as far as how you discuss what goes into making a guy a truly elite player, a talented player. But I do think it puts you in an upper room. It puts you in an upper echelon of guys when you led your team to a championship. But like Charles Barkley is still thought of as one of the greatest players ever, and he never won a ring. And there's going to be several other guys like that, Hall of Famers that haven't won rings, but are thought of as just as talented as the guys that didn't. It's just like a balance of how we weight things and how we discuss things.
Absolutely. And we're going to get more into that in a moment with another conversation I wanted to have. But for now, we'll leave it at that. I think that's a great setup for you guys to follow up to our next video. So for now, definitely some fun things to watch. So Jokic and Luka and Russ and all these guys are putting up great stats across the league. I'm excited to talk about it and continue to follow it all. Again, appreciate you guys for continuing to tune back into us. like, rate, review, subscribe, all the good stuff for it. As we say, I will see you guys again online in our next video. And yeah, appreciate y'all. Excited to get into this next conversation. So we'll see y'all there. Peace.
Doses.